Hi everyone, and welcome back to Second Rank Fire. I'm your host Ben, and as always, I've got my co-host Dave.
Good evening. How's it going, guys?
And we've got another special guest for you. This time, we've got the wonderful James from over at Siege, but it's Siege Studios, Siege Scenics. How are you doing, James?
Yeah,
there's two now. Are you doing all right, James? How are you getting on?
Really good, thanks. Yeah, really, really good. Pretty busy. This year's flying by. Like, I can't believe it's like literally it's April already. It's absolutely crazy. So I'm still recovering from Christmas dinner. Do you know what I mean? So it's it's crazy. But yeah, no, good. Like the year's been flying by, and obviously lots of things happening with both things now, which is obviously there's terms. So they've kind of. Yeah, I wasn't content with Siege. Obviously, I decided to be crazy and do something else as well. So yeah, but no, it's been good. Just just very very busy. Just looking forward to the rest of the year really.
Yeah, I bet. I mean, we'll kick off with sort of what's your background in the hobby? Sort of how long you've been doing it for? What got you into it? That sort of stuff. We'll kick off there.
A long time now, I realise, because like especially when I talk to people and all this kind of stuff, and people are like, oh yeah, I got into it in fifth edition or like sixth edition, or I've only recently got into it in Leviathan, and I'm like, oh my god, I remember second edition, and I barely remember Rogue Traders, So I kind of realised now it's actually quite some time. But yeah, like long time. I kind of fell into it. Like I didn't just discover it myself. I kind of I found some bits and bobs in a shop, and then didn't know what they were, and then gradually stumbled into a GW when I was very young. Obviously, and saw the light beaming through the door, and then just I haven't really looked back since. But painting and hobbying, I've kind of did that before Warhammer. So I got into model kits and things like that, like Airfix and things. And I think that was given to me to kind of keep me out of trouble, or whatever, keep me occupied at a young age, obviously done that for my childhood, and I'd go into games workshops and things as a kid. I'd like the games clubs and stuff like that. Back then, you didn't really have Warhammer clubs at school and stuff like that, which I'm really gutted that I missed out on, because that's the best thing ever. What did you learn at school? How to charge a unit of enemy in 40k, that was a bit of a shame. But I had a break like everybody. I got into music and other bits and bobs and bands and guitars and things like that, and then stumbled back into it at a later age, and now I haven't really looked back since. I kind of got back into it around 22, 23, and I'm 38 now, and not regretting the last God knows how many years, So yeah, it's been a bit of a ride really. But I've always been into painting, always, even from a young kid. I used to love just playing around in the garden, in summer with a couple of paints and some rolls of wallpaper, blank wallpaper. Again, I wasn't afforded the luxuries of toys. It was just paper and paint. So create your own fun. That's kind of how I got into it. But I feel quite old now in the industry, being honest, just because I still remember the red era of second edition, and walking in with the red carpet, the red walls, and the yellow, black, and red logo, the 40k logo, and I remember that like it was yesterday. I see old boxes of Warhammer, the old colourful, blue, red, green, all those old boxes, and I'm just it's just not as colourful as it used to be. They've made their packaging just as grim dark as the setting. Do you know what I mean? It's always blacks or greys or things like that. You don't get the super vibrant packaging anymore. But yeah, I do. I'm quite nostalgic when it comes to the past. I do really, really love the older boxes and the older artwork. I look at White Dwarf now is great. Don't get me wrong; it's still a good publication. But I look at the old ones and look at the psychedelic colours that are all over it, and I'm like, oh, I wish they still look like that. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, but yeah, no, it's been a crazy ride, but I wouldn't change it. I feel quite privileged to have experienced those early years, and remember it like it was yesterday. So yeah.
Nice. That's quite a history. I mean, you've probably got both ends of the stick with me and Dave. I started in 8th edition. That's
wow.
how early. Yeah, I had to play fantasy when I was a kid, but yeah, 8th edition was the first time I ever delved into 40k, whereas Dave is on the other end.
Yeah, 2nd edition, 3rd edition for me. Yeah.
Yeah, I could see him nodding along, going, "Yeah, I remember those boxes as well." Yeah.
The old, especially the old red T-shirts when you used to go to GW back in the day.
Yeah, you always used to know something special was going on in the store. It was either a black T-shirt or a blue T-shirt. There was a manager in the store at the time, or someone senior, senior was in the store, and you always, but yeah, I remember those old days. It's yeah. Maybe one day they'll go back to those the crazy colours, but that'll be awesome.
We can keep dreaming.
Maybe.
Yeah, we can dream.
Well, we'll talk more about you further into the podcast. We'll kick on with the sort of standard stuff that we do. This is going to be a really quick one for both of us, I think. Again, Dave.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because we're still in a bit of a hobby. What have you been doing, Dave?
I didn't do my law. I didn't even touch my Lord Exultant. But I managed to start doing my bases for my 15 Death Riders. So that's a win, I guess. I haven't picked up a paintbrush in about a month or so. I just hit a brick wall. And I don't know if you know, James, I'm doing another 30 Death Riders to my 30 Rough Riders.
Wow,
so I've
that's
got
a lot.
62 horses in total. And yeah, that's just my my go-to thing at the moment.
That's awesome. Are you fielding them in an army together, like as in like all six? So when you run like 1,000 or 2,000 points, are you running like all like a almost like a scene from Lord of the Rings, but with explosive lances? Yeah, that's amazing. That's awesome.
I run it in my 2K, and my other 1K is just armored vehicles. There's like 5 tanks. That is it.
Yeah.
And I've just got flat out being turn 1 charge.
That's great. Yeah, that's great. And if
soft and squidgy, but brilliant.
Yeah, I mean, I think sometimes the best armies are thematic ones. Being honest with you, so like it's not always about crunching numbers. You know what I mean?
I've definitely not the one that follows meta. Ben knows me. I've always gone with what I like the look of. It's all about the rule of cool for me. Absolutely. But yeah, so I'd say I epically failed my challenge. But I managed to do something else, as the old curse of this hobby. You get distracted by other shiny stuff.
Oh, yeah. I know that feeling.
But no, that's about me. But I think it's a good trade-off from one model doing 15. So I'm counting as a win-win.
Up a paintbrush. That's the key. I mean, obviously, like people that have listened to the last couple of episodes have known that we've been in that hobby lull. But the both of us. But yeah, at least I've been picking up a paintbrush over the past few weeks.
Yeah,
you hadn't picked up a paintbrush in weeks, which is just absurd for you.
So if you notice my Instagram, it goes from like a peak and troughs. So a few months, especially when I have tournaments. So I'll just go all in, and I'll crash. That's it. I'm done for a few months. Then until I find another tournament, and I'll pick it back up again. I don't think it's not healthy, but I'm trying to work out a different angle. I'm trying to like spark my love for the hobby again. I may just start painting random models that I want to paint, and just do that for a few weeks or a few months, I'll say, until another love. But the CAF old world stuff, oh my god, that looks
great,
so good.
Wow, yeah, it's I never thought samurai could look so good in fantasy.
Yeah,
they are fantastic.
Especially from it's pretty much a whole brand new army release, isn't it? It's like the old Tau. When Tau dropped in 40k.
Yeah.
It's like it's all new, absolutely amazing, and I'm sure the community will like smash out some awesome colour schemes, especially with the dragon, Dragon Prince Empress or whatever her name is.
Yeah, not the big one. You're talking about the one that's riding almost like the riding the smaller dragon.
No, it's the one that can change into the dragon.
Oh right. Yeah.
So I don't know if you play Total War Warhammer 3. She can transform herself into the dragon, like a dragon of thunder. I think her name, her abilities are, and it's quite cool.
So they in Total War. Then?
Yeah. So
awesome.
Warhammer Total War 3 has got like Kislev. It's gone back to the very early days of Warhammer. So where you got Kislev before Kislev got wiped out by Chaos. And stuff like that. And it's all like before Chaos rised. They were trying to gain power and stuff like that. And that's where you got CAF doing their own thing. And it's very cool. If you've got no soul or whatever, that's your game.
Fair.
But how about you, Ben? Did you pass or fail?
Do you know what? My challenge was actually start listening to a book, which was relatively easy for me.
Mm-hmm.
obviously everyone knows First Rank Fire. Everyone assumes that I have a thing for Guard. I don't. I don't like Guard. I've never read a Guard book. I've never touched a Guard model. So the challenge last week, last episode, was to start reading or listening to the Gaunt's Ghosts. I'm about an hour and a half into the first book so far. It's good. Okay, so I'm going to caveat this. It is good. I've heard many good things so far. The first hour and a half is. It's a lot of scene setting. It's a lot of this is the character A, this is character B, this is character C. So it's been interesting to get to know the characters, and I'm starting to recognise names now, which is the key thing, I guess for the start. So I'm looking forward to how it goes. It seems to have started well, and I'm just hoping it keeps going on that trajectory up.
In other words, Ben doesn't want.
I was saying, no spoilers, but the book they're fantastic. They really are, and that's the one thing. Sometimes you do hear hype about like certain books or stories or things like that, and I think no matter how sort of like into 40k you are, I think there's a lot of commonality between people when they talk about Gaunt's Ghosts. I think it's always been like a really hooky. You can't put the book down once you get into it because, like you said, it gathers pace as you start learning characters and stuff. And once it gets really into it, it's quite a hard book to put down once you really warm to the characters as well. So yeah.
I'm just waiting for this space.
Oh, I know. So I put a story out the other day about starting it, and I've never had so many messages about a book before. I put books before. I love the Lion book, the Lord of the Forest. Son of the Forest. I love that book. I've listened to it so many double figures. I've listened to that. I have like 3 or 4 messages about that. But the Gaunt's Ghost thing, I think I've got like 12 to 15 messages from people just be like, "This is incredible. You're doing the best thing." I'm like, that's a good sign.
Yeah,
100%.
It is very good.
Yeah, so that I've been doing that. I have picked up a paintbrush over the past 2 weeks. I'm starting to try and teach myself NMM gold predominantly, and rather than doing it on a little bit, I'm just going to take a marine. I'm just going to do a whole marine, loads of different panels, try different things. So I started doing a little bit of that. It's not perfect. It's quite messy at the moment, but I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying it. Which similar to Dave, I barely picked up a paintbrush for ages. I'd stopped sort of painting. So yeah, it's been nice to do that, and I've had my airbrush paints delivered for my custom chapter. So hopefully I can get some playing around on the airbrush to try and get that armour a little bit easier than it has been.
Have you been doing it before using airbrush on it? Have you been doing it all by hand?
Yeah, all dry brush. So it's like a dark orange and a dark blue at the top, and then they sort of merge around the knee pads and they blend into each other.
So you're hitting it with one colour and then hitting it from above with the next colour, essentially, with the airbrush.
Yeah, well, so I've still got it's 5 colours that go into the armour, which is why it's such a pain in the arse to paint. Because there's 2 different oranges, white, 2 different blues, so they merge together. So yeah, I'm basically going to do all I think I'll probably end up doing all the blue and then all the orange. The issue I've got is the fact that the bottom of the legs start orange up to blue, but then the arms do the same. So the hands start off orange, and then on the backpacks, they all start off orange at the bottom. And then on the helmets, they've all got like an orange stripe that goes down the middle. So there's like bits spread out everywhere.
Oh, wow.
So it's going to be take a little bit of playing with the airbrush to try and make sure I can get it right and make sure it looks good. But the reason I'm going down the airbrush route is because I did 10 intercessors in one batch, and it was so painful. And then I built up my Repulsor Executioner, and I looked at it and went, there is no way I'm doing this by hand. It'll look terrible. So yeah, I've been waiting to find the right colours. I want to get it right, so I've been looking through loads of different ranges and trying to pick out the right colours that go. So hopefully I've picked right. We'll find out soon.
You'll be fine. Yeah, just practice it. You'll be good. Don't do a test model or a couple of tests, even the arms and stuff like that. Do those separate.
Yeah, I've got quite a few. I've got a few thousand points built up and ready to paint. So I've got loads of intercessors, assault intercessors, stuff like that to have a bit of a play with. So
awesome.
Yeah, that's kind of. There's not been a huge amount of action, but I've been getting stuff ready so that hopefully the next 2 weeks I can hit the ground running and get some painting done. Yeah. What about you, James? What have you been working on?
Not loads and loads. You'd think doing what I do for work, I would get loads of time to paint, and the truth is, I don't. I used to get a lot more. I do tinker and paint and stuff for myself now and again. I mean, around about Christmas time, early part of the year, I've been painting quite a lot of a lot of older models. Dave will probably remember a lot of these, but a lot of the old metal priests, like Minotaur priests, ecclesiarchy, like
Yeah.
the old Uriah Jacobus, if you remember him. Like
Oh yeah,
just
back in the day.
like
Yeah.
really old priest models. So like got like a diorama that I'm doing where it's like a load of ecclesiarchy against like Nurgle, and like as the Nurgle advancing towards like this building, like this chapel, all the ground is shifting as if like as they move, like Nurgle's
Mm.
consuming the ground up, and like all the
Cool.
priests are like holding the faith, and it looks like how it should. I've got a lot. I went a bit crazy with it, like yeah, I've gone a bit mad, and I've got all the parts now to do it, but it's just obviously getting the time to paint it, and it's been a project that's like years I've been doing this, getting like curating all the parts and bits, obviously because they're older models and things, and I only just pre-Christmas started doing it, and obviously there's a few bits and bobs that I do obviously for work. I don't paint on the tools anymore for the company now, but and I haven't done for quite a few years, but we obviously do the odd. We get sent stuff from Games Workshop. We're on the content creator program, so I had the pleasure of painting a few characters and stuff that have come out. Like I've had a similar struggle to yourself recently. I had the Lycus Elder model. Like it's been a real challenge. I've had quite a few issues with it, just in how complex it is as a build, you know, and stuff. And like incredible model, but you said about stuff around you get distracted by shiny things. If you look around, if you could
Mm.
see my desk in front of me here in my living room, like I've got so many half finished bits and bobs, and like trying to juggle multiple things, and yeah, it's a bit nuts. So the painting time I do get is quite limited, and that's why I don't really game anymore. I just paint, like you said, paint things that shiny thing that takes your fancy, and I just paint that
Mm.
whilst juggling other bits and bobs, and when I can get a load of things done, I'll head to the odd competition now and again and enter competitions and stuff. So that's kind of like what I enjoy now, like rather than I got really put off with gaming a little bit when I spent ages making a Khorne army, a World Eaters army, but I done Hounds of Abaddon, which I read Black Legion, like going back to the books, like you said, I read the Black Legion novel by Aaron Dempsey Bowden, and I just fell in love with like the Khorne Black Legion characters in the book. I just
Yeah.
thought they're really like they're kind of tempered Khorne, but not, if that makes sense. They just when they go, they really go, and like and so I was like, oh, I'll do an army of those, and I've done like you do, convert them all, make them all like character forge, all the things that you want to do to them, and then they change the rules, and you can't give them double chain weapons, so chain axe chain sword anymore, and I just at that point I was like, I'm not lopping all the arms off. I just can't, you know. So
Mm.
I just spend more time painting now than anything else really. So yeah. But recently, like I said, just some old metal models which I've absolutely loved, and I painted an Infinity model the other day, which is quite interesting. It's a little bit different than 40k,
Mm.
Yeah.
but just had a go of painting an Infinity model just to do something a little bit different as well. So that's quite fun. And that's been pretty much it really.
Oh,
Nice.
nice.
Yeah. Okay, Dave.
Right.
What you got on with the next 2 weeks then? Let's go for the next
Right.
2 weeks.
I want to rekindle my love for potentially Blood Angels. That's what my first army was in third edition.
Yeah.
But I've been speaking to Dan, Heresy My Therapy. I may just test a few slap chop methods. I may see if I can do it the way I do it at the moment, or I may do like the three different oranges of different orange colours. So from dark orange to the brightest orange, I think it's Fire Slayer
Yeah.
or something orange, and do that and tip it off with a bit of white, not too much white, but I think that's me. I think it's gonna experiment with some snap chop dry brush methods to see if I like the Grimace Dark with the technique I do at the moment, or make the red pop a bit more, if that
Yeah.
makes sense. As you
like
said,
old school Blood Angels, like really
yeah,
bright.
right, quite rich, but I don't want it to go pink. If I did it the way I do it now, it would be quite pinkish in certain areas. So I'm trying to do the oranges, like you mentioned a couple weeks ago when you did like yellow. I think you used pink or something.
Yes,
underneath?
pink. Yeah, so dry brush the so it's all dry brush pink with a little bit of really really light pink over the top. Yeah, then with
Yeah,
the yellow contrast, it just pops yellow beautifully. Whereas I
yeah.
did it over
So
white, and it turned a
I've,
weird orange greeny colour.
yeah, exactly like that. So I'm gonna try to go down that avenue, and probably if it's too bright, I may water down some red terror
Hmm.
contrast. Really water it down so it doesn't overrise the blood angel colour,
Yeah.
but it just dulls it down a little bit, like almost like a glaze, if that makes sense. I'm not sure James knows all the technique
That's
lingo
all right.
anymore.
So yeah, that makes sense. Makes
So,
sense exactly what you're
so,
saying. Yeah. So yeah.
and I'm just looking through your sea stuff, and I feel like was it Magala Plateau be quite a cool bow world type thing, like
Yeah,
a
the reddish
desert.
tinge to it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I think that would pop it nicely if they're like on
Yeah.
their home world and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I'll just
Definitely.
see how that goes, and yeah, that's probably 2 weeks. Probably just get 2 models done potentially.
That's not like experimenting like that takes way more time than you ever expected to.
It
Like
really
Yeah.
just
does.
trying to start something new. Yeah, it's always gonna, especially with the dry brushing stages, slap chop. You need to get those so spot on.
Hmm.
So yeah, taking the time to get those right is definitely the right way.
How about yourself, Ben?
So now I've got those paints for the custom chapter stuff. I want to get some time on the airbrush. So definitely a little bit of that.
Mhm.
Yeah, just try out a few different models for that one. Then I've got my M Marine that I want to carry on doing. So I've got one leg mostly done. I want to do a little bit more on that and try and attack the rest of that one. So in terms of painting, those are the kind of the key features that I've got. I really want to try and get the custom chapter armor down, because once I've got that down, it will kind of unlock loads more. It will start to get the tank ready, stuff like that. Because so that's me and Dave are supposed to be playing a game in June, our first game against each other, and that's the army that I wanted to take. So if I can get that armor unlocked to make sure that works, I feel like I'll be able to actually get an army together before June.
Nice.
So yeah, that's the painting side of it. Obviously, going to carry on with Gaunt's Ghosts. Listen to that to and from work every day. And then the other thing that I'm doing as well, which I've sort of hinted about over the past couple of episodes, is I'm working on sort of rebooting the YouTube channel. So obviously this podcast is going to carry on, but then my aim is to sort of put together some more sort of beginner friendly type videos. So looking at faction focuses and reviewing things. So reviewing some of the products that I've got and things like that. From obviously I'm definitely an amateur. But I feel like because I've not been in the hobby too long, but probably long enough to sort of know which stuff I've got loads of stuff. I've bought loads of stuff. I know what I haven't liked. I know what I have liked. So I feel like I can sort of throw that into the YouTube, make it a little bit more sort of beginner friendly, like newcomers to the hobby or people coming back into the hobby, that sort of stuff. So yeah, over the next couple of weeks, I want to try and throw some effort into that and get some videos ready and. Yeah, I've already started that over the last few nights, and I'm getting quite excited for it. So, yeah, that'll be how I spend my evenings, I think.
Nice.
Yeah,
That's awesome. It's good. I think that's a good thing though. That like you're doing the beauty of it is there's loads of different entry points into like for people who get into it, and like searching for beginner stuff when it's tailored that way. There's plenty, especially with the way the industry's growing. There's plenty of people that will be looking for that, and that even if you're an experienced painter, sometimes someone will do something in a video that that other people don't even think about, and like it
yeah.
becomes this thing. They discover something new from that, if that makes sense. So yeah, I think that's really good. I didn't realize you had a YouTube channel previous to this. So apologies, I should have known that.
No, it's only when I came back and when we really started this podcast, rather than just so much the original episodes of First Rank Fire. They're not on YouTube. I've never gone back and put them on YouTube. So the first 35 episodes or whatever, they're only on like Spotify, things like that. And it was only when I came back and we started this podcast that I sort of wanted to throw a little bit more into YouTube. And so yeah, all of these podcasts have been going onto YouTube, as well as Spotify, but all of that new stuff will be purely focused for the sort of the YouTube side of things, and try and
That's
sort of
awesome.
grow a little bit there and yeah, enjoy the hobby a little bit there.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. What about you, James? You got much coming up?
Yeah,
It's MPO soon, right?
Yeah. Tell me about it. You going to it?
I'm not this year. I didn't manage to get a ticket because of the time. So I'm on jury duty, literally the weeks around it, and so I
Oh
have
wow.
no
Okay.
idea what my life's going to be like.
Yeah, no, tell me about it. I mean, yeah, I hope to go AMPO. Like, I bought a ticket for it, but it's whether I actually have anything done to take. Like, as much as yeah, I'd like to go and obviously see everything. I'll still go either way, just to obviously
Mm.
go and see stuff. Um, but I'd actually like to take some bits, and it's just whether I can get stuff across the line because time is literally slipping away, and we've got Salute obviously this coming weekend.
Yeah,
So you got that, and then literally I've got a few things in between Salute and an MPO that I've got committed. Obviously some classes, some other bits and bobs and things that I do, and
yeah,
obviously stuff outside of work in general. And then we've literally got MPO, and then week after that, I think it's UK Games Expo. Then we've got like it's like event after
yeah.
event after event, like event has started, and then a week after UKGE, some clever person, hint hint, it was me, stupidly decided to for us to return to shows and events this year and go to UKGE as a business and take the Scenics company, and then the weekend after that, then do Iron Skull as well. So we've got like Hell Week, like so it's like so it's yeah, so fingers crossed, I'll be taking a few things with me to MPO if I can get them across the line and actually find some time to paint by some miracle. But we will see. We will see. We will see. Either way, I'll go. But whether I've got anything is a completely other question. So yeah. So yeah.
Yeah, I loved MP. So I went last year. Last year, yeah, it's like a whole year ago. I loved it. It's like that's the first time that I'd ever been to like an event or something like that, like where or like a painting competition. That's my first in-person painting competition. It was really nice to like catch up with people, and the quality of the painting there was incredible, absolutely incredible.
Yeah. Yeah. You'll see amazing stuff there.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, it's obviously like it's the corner paint guy, cool to paint guys. They've got Andy there. I mean, come on, like Andy's
Yeah.
such an incredible painter. Just to see like the showcase of his stuff was amazing in itself. But yeah, then seeing like Fletcher's playing and stuff like that, and
Blackbird were great. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. He's already told me what he's doing for MPO. I don't know if he's going to get it finished for this one, but he's working hard on it.
Yeah. Yeah. Good.
Yeah.
Is it, I don't know. Is it another scale model? It'd be awesome if it is. So I know he loves a scale model. So
I think he's keeping it secret, so I won't say on the
no,
podcast.
fair. Yeah.
But yeah, I've spoken to him about it because I was supposed to be going to see him again. But yeah, I'll leave it as his secret for now. But
Yeah. Looking forward to seeing that, whatever it is.
yeah, it's Fletcher, so it's always going to be good. So yeah, yeah, okay. I mean, let's sort of move on to the hobby, the topic of the week, the episode, which obviously James is you and Siege and everything like that. And do you want to just give for those people who for some reason don't know who Siege are? Do you want to give a sort of background about Siege Scenics and Siege Studios and sort of how you
Yeah.
came up with the two organisations?
Yeah, that's very kind of you. I mean, believe me, there are plenty of people that still, I mean, even after 12 years or whatever it is that Siege has been around, like there's because the industry is growing at such a crazy rate because of everything that's going on. Like, I try to remain as grounded as physically possible about it. There's plenty of people that get into this and like don't know the company or whatever, and that's perfectly fine. Like I said, I'm more than happy to explain. So, Siege is a commission painting business. Like that, I've been doing that for 12 years. Obviously, Scenics is a very new thing. It's actually, well, I say new. It is over 18 months old, but no one's been aware of it because Adam and me have kept it super
Mm.
tight lipped and as quiet as physically possible. Because when we released it, we wanted it to be like come out of nowhere and obviously be to a very high standard. And Scenics is a Scenics company making obviously just everything you can think of that comes with basing and as an initial launch product. So yeah, there is like I say a hidden agenda. There is an agenda with it in the sense of we obviously use the trampoline that is Siege's name for it because number one we wanted to produce some really quality things in the sense of the basing, but at the same time, um, one of the things that I'm super conscious of, and we want to do as a company, is have as much consistency in our work as possible. And when you're using basing products, and maybe the company isn't around anymore, or the range changes, or any of those things, if you've got projects for clients that have been with you for 10 years, 8 years, 7 years, whatever, and brown moss or Brown Tuft Mark 1 is now discontinued, like you buy Brown Tuft Mark 2 and it's a different shade of brown to Mark 1. Do you know what I mean? So the silver lining of it is that we can obviously guarantee consistency on the basing products because the cousin company makes them, so like that is the other part of it, but yeah, like they're the two things that I do in the industry, and obviously the studio as in Siege has been around a lot longer, obviously, but yeah, that's basically what the two businesses are, and kind of what they're about. One's a painting studio and the other one's a scenics manufacturer. So yeah.
So what made you start Siege Studios in the first place all that time ago?
Really, I worked in recruitment for many years, so for about 11 years, and I came back home from music and all that when I went through the floor, and sort of got my Warhammer out and started obviously doing that again, put videos on YouTube and stuff, and just really got approached by a few people and said, oh look, we do commission painting. We've seen a couple of videos that I used to do, like Kit Bash diaries, where I'd throw stuff together or I'd paint stuff and do like a little video of it or whatever, like on YouTube. And that's back in the day when that was like 2013. So YouTube wasn't the behemoth, as much of a behemoth in our industry that it is now. Like it was, very, very vlog style, as in there wasn't like, you see all the stuff that's on there now, like professional like shoots, the quality of the camera work, like everything's like crazy 4 HD mirrorless cameras, all that kind of stuff. It was literally Handycam, like Dave and Matt with Handycam, obviously, like Handycam battle reports passing the camera to each other while they're playing the game and stuff like that. So very different industry to what it is now. But yeah, a few people messaged me and I said, oh look, we've seen some of the bits you do. Do you want to paint some models for us? And I had an experience doing that for some people, and it was very, very different to the corporate professional life that I have in recruitment. And I just thought, look, there's things that I, as a customer, would expect because of just how things is. So, and I just decided to start something different and just try and overlay some of the stuff that I do in recruitment and how I was in recruitment within miniature painting. And that's really how Siege started. It's just trying to do something really professional. And it's always been a bit of a confliction. The reason earlier, you said about engineering and stuff, is I used to recruit within mechanical and electrical engineering. So I used to recruit in that industry. And because of that, I was around trades all the time. So everything from sparks to chippies, I used to do M&E recruitment, so building services and like, not obviously on the IT side and stuff, but more on the sort of like the actual sort of the actual wiring side of stuff and all that kind of stuff. And I don't really see any difference between commission painting and like those trades, other than, all right, it's art, which is not really quantifiable, because you can go in the Tate Modern and there's a pile of sand that's worth £3.8 million or something, and then you've got like someone chucking soup at a parchment, and it's like on the wall as well. So art is not this super quantifiable thing, but I think within miniature painting there is kind of like what's okay and what's not, if that makes sense. And because of that, at the higher end of execution, it is that at that point where it's a skilled trade, in my opinion, and it always, in my opinion, will be. So that's kind of like why I wanted to produce a business, or do a business that kind of really honoured that and rewarded painters for the work that's put in, and tried to do right by customers as well. So that's kind of like how Siege started, and it was literally a little flat above a chemist, and I was slogging away for several years on my own, on the tools, and it grew a little bit. I got some friends involved, grew a little bit more. Matt and Dave done a video for me on YouTube. Like I didn't know it was them at the time. Funny little segue. Like they emailed, said, "Oh, can you paint some models for us?" I was like, "Yeah, cool. I'll paint some models for you." Done the video, went away to a tournament at Warhammer with my friend Tris for a weekend, and my phone lit up like a Christmas tree because they put a video out without my email in it. And I woke up on the Sunday, I think it was, with like 1,500 emails or something crazy. They like the biggest YouTube account in the industry at the time. And I was completely ignorant to who they were as a company, and the channel and stuff. And I just literally thought I was painting for some guys that randomly emailed me, and yeah, like and that's kind of how it all exploded in the early days. And since then, obviously, look, the industry's grown and grown and grown and grown. We had obviously the terrible time that was COVID for so many people, and the really horrible time that it was. And for our industry, it was crazy. Like, our industry exploded during COVID, like absolutely went atomic. And I think it's because obviously it's a very much a thing that you can, you can really immerse yourself in it, whether like what you're saying, you're reading the books, or if you're doing the painting, you can literally spend hours, and you don't have to worry about other things in life or in the world and all that kind of stuff. And I think it's got very cathartic, slows your heart rate, it calms you down depending how stressed you are on the model, I suppose. But it helped a lot of people during those times, and we saw crazy growth in our industry because of it. People going back into their lofts, their sheds, their garages, and finding their models, and then going, "Oh, this is amazing! I'll do this," etc. So it feels terrible because I had friends that had other businesses, had like restaurants or had like other service-based industries, like and they were going through the floor, and we're like painting toy soldiers for people, and like it's booming like you'd not believe, So like it's a crazy period, and then coming out the back of that, it's grown and grown and grown and grown consistently. The industry's obviously getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Matt and Dave aren't using handy cams anymore. They've got proper cameras there. So it's gone a little bit nuts, being frank. And yeah, like 12 years in, we're where we are, and with the team that we've got and the infrastructure we've got in place, and the industry's more healthy than it's ever been, So yeah, I think it's the most exciting time for anybody to get into it if they're new to it. And genuinely, as much as those early days we were talking about earlier, the nostalgia is still firmly in my heart and what I love from my memories. I think it's even more exciting for people to get into it now because there's such a broader spectrum of entry point and information and knowledge as well, relating to your YouTube channel, like you were saying. There's so much more out there now that people can really get their teeth into to get a really good start in the industry. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, loads of people that I sort of spoken to in the past, it's getting into the hobby was leafing through the old GW catalogue. Whereas now, if you want to pick a faction, you can go and watch 1,000 battle reports on YouTube and go and see 1,000 ways to paint that specific faction and stuff like that. Yes, it feels like it's much easier. It's a lot more exciting to see all the different routes that people are going with it, and Instagram's incredible for that. I mean, you can take one model across 1,000 different Instagrammers, and they're all painted in completely different ways, in like really incredible ways. I agree with you. It's a really exciting time to be in the hobby.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
go on, Dave. I'm with you. I thought you were about to talk.
No. I was just waiting for you to carry on. Great podcasting this is. So shall we lead on to questions? Oh, sorry, that's my headphones.
Yeah. Let's go. So obviously we put out onto Instagram to get some questions for you, James. So we got a few back. So.
Right. I've got one, and I think it'll cover one from another person who commented on the post. So for me personally, I've never heard this type of basing material, for example, because I think last episode I assumed you just repaint it over. That's how old I am. It's like, no, you get like PVA, put sand on the base, and you repaint it. So how would you apply this? Is it the same method as putting sand on it? Like, so you water down PVA and you dose your model, and that is it. Do you not need to paint it, or what?
It's a really good question. So the reason why we've done the basic materials the way that we did is really to the thing we were saying about earlier, which is obviously just a lot of new people being in the industry, and also accessibility and just ease of function as well. The reason that they all look like certain settings, like you've got obviously Urban Decadence, you've got Mangala Plateau, Barakat Melange, and obviously Terra Firma, they're all the colours that they are and the look that they are and the blends that they are that we've made so that you can put them on the base with PVA and they will give you a really decent environment without requiring painting. Whether you do bases separately or whether you glue the models onto the base and then put the basing material on, one of the biggest things when you do glue the model on the base is that it's quite, you have to be very neat around the feet, obviously, to paint the basing material. And if maybe you're not as experienced as a painter, or maybe your brush control isn't as good as you would like it to be, or you don't feel confident in painting the material around the feet, having the option of the material looking half decent and looking really realistic from the outset is the reason why we made the decisions that we did for them to look the way that they are and function the way that they are. You still seal them in with so I always recommend when you do basing, getting a knife and scratching the base first, just
Okay.
like even before you put the model on, or if you put the model on, scratch the base first to kind of create like a roughish texture on the surface of the base. Putting on your PVA, then put the basing material, letting it dry, sticking it in your airing cupboard so the airing cupboard will help dry it quite quickly as well. That helps, or if it's in sunlight outside. And then once it's set, doing like that 50-50 water and PVA over the top of it, so it will set like concrete, if that makes
Yeah.
sense. And it does darken the tone of it slightly because obviously you've wet it, but when it dries, it does have that PVA layer over it. At that point, you can paint it if you want, which a lot of people do choose to do. But the beauty of them being the way that they are is that you can then leave them and they just look naturally good anyway. If you
Yeah.
follow me, so we just tried to create basing mixes which were as utilitarian as possible, so that whoever's using it and whatever they want to do with it, they can do that. And that's the purpose of them. So yeah.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Because you got is there any more future like texture bases you got planned that you can give us a hint to, or
A lot.
is it all hush
There's a,
hush hush hush?
no, it's not hush hush. Like, so we're doing. Ad and me have been obviously developing products for Scenics for 18 months, and it's really hard curating like what we were going to launch with. And I think as a Scenics brand, you kind of have to have moss like tufts as a core thing, just like to start off with, which is obviously, so there's 16 ranges of those, and then the moss pads is something that is like a thing that we've been really working hard on to get right. For scale purposes, first and foremost, Adam and me both come from competition background, so we like things to look real or as realistic as possible, but the basing materials, so I was like, well, we've got to do some basing materials. So I made 4 ranges, which is the ones we've got currently, and there are quite a few more that aren't released yet that are coming. We will be releasing them very, very soon. There's a couple of events coming up this year which have already been mentioned in the show. And if you're attending any of those, you will definitely see them, is what I can say at this point in time. So I can kind of 50% answer the question for you. But basically, there's other environments that we really want to create a realistic product that has the same utilitarian function that the current ranges do have. I'm really excited to see what people think of these other ones. I think the hardest thing was choosing the things that we launched with and holding some ace cards. So we go, if you think that's great, just wait for this, so it's like, so it's kind of hard, but there's some really cool things that I think when people see them and start using them, that they'll be like, wow, this is awesome. And if and that's really what we try to do. But there are some really fantastic things, things that have not been done before, things that have been done, but we've tried to make them look as real as possible. Like I think that's one of the ultimate things when me and Ad both went into this all that time ago, was we want to make it look really good, natural, and make it as immersive and realistic as possible, but also as easy functionality wise for any hobbyist at any level to go, cool, I'm going to use this, and have confidence with using it as well. I think that's also really important, rather than sometimes like texture paste, as much as it's a great product, there's a barrier of confidence because people are like, oh, if I get this on the model, what's going to happen? Blah, blah, like all this kind of stuff. Like, so they're good products, and I'm not trying to dump on them, but like at the same time, like, there is a bit of an uncertainty with them. Whereas obviously what we wanted to do is stuff that just, cool, I can put it on and I know it will be good and I'll be okay, and it's not going to ruin the model, if that makes sense, So yeah.
I am a full convert to base mixers. I think they're fantastic. I've picked up a few in the past, and when you obviously started to release them, I was really pleased to see that sort of you bring them out. I think they're fantastic. Over the past year, I took my breaks, obviously having my second kid, I found my time was super, super stretched. Basing was always going to be the thing that sort of took the back seat, and so finding base mixers and that has been incredible. So definitely for new painters, experienced painters, even like to, obviously you get a lot of those like 3D printed basers or people making their own basers. They just accentuate, but they make those bases look even better for me. I think they're a really, really good product.
Yeah, but you know what? The Urban Decadence, the urban one, I when we were coming up with them, I really struggled to find something in the marketplace. I'm not trying to come across as biased now, but I really tried to find a really like good urban that looks like buildings that have been blown up, or like a city street that's been like demolished and stuff like that. And like that was for me. I think one of my favourite ones that I made was Urban Decadence, because it just when we finally made, because all of them, they're not just, I want to say this, they're not just stuff that we've just rebagged or anything like that. It's literally just stuff that we've gone, oh, we want something that looks like this. We'll add this to this. We'll almost like we've made all the blends. So like that was the one that when we created it and we done our first sort of like draw with a base with some glue on it, and actually we were like, this thing looks like we're a customer of our own thing, because we thought it was so good, you know. So like so yeah, Urban Decadence is like my favorite, I think, out of all of them. It's hard because they're all like little mini children, but like it's like you know, but like it is my favorite one, I think, definitely from all of them. So yeah.
Yeah, Dave, you'll be a convert when you start using them.
Oh,
Definitely.
don't get me wrong. I will definitely be. I'm just not on your website now. Just having a look through. Probably added some stuff to basket. No, it's definitely, because I agree. Like with my armies I'm doing at the moment, I'm using cork and I'm mixing PVA and sand to make like a paste so I can seal the cork and apply texture to the cork, so it kills two birds with one stone. And as I'm slowly agreeing with Ben, that is a lot of time consuming and stuff like that. And
Yeah.
I'm not getting any younger. I'm 36 and I can't be arsed, to be honest. Even though I've got all this cork on my desk now, just staring at me like sobbing. But I will probably definitely convert to these scenic bases and stuff like that. So just to cut the hassle out at the end of it, because then then I'm not have to worry about the basing. I can do it at the very end. I do all the dry brushing. It would be pointless for applying the basic material to the model while I'm dry brushing, and half it comes off as I'm just dry brushing frantically. But no, I think I'll definitely be a convert eventually, maybe sooner.
Yeah, I definitely, I love them. I think they're a really great product. Really, really great. I used to use paste a lot, and then going over and painting them, make sure you're getting the right colour, was get them to look like you say, getting them to look realistic was so difficult by comparison. Like the ease of using a base mix, it's just incredible how quickly it looks so much more realistic.
Yeah,
I don't know if you find it. It's like when the old ways of doing bases, it's hard to keep the consistency through your bases, because you're like, oh yeah, this dry brush is perfect on these 10. Then you get the other 10 next to it, it's like, why is they darker than these ones? I don't understand. It's just really infuriating, and you can notice it mile off net when you put it on the table. It's like, you just set your tone, like, oh. But it's like all like methods. It's like, where was this like 20 odd years ago?
Yeah.
You know, when I first started in 3rd edition, it was all about green flock.
Yeah, I know.
Goblin green bases for green flock.
Yeah.
But
I used to hate that green flock. You used to put stuff. If you put too much PVA on the base, it'd just be like a mush. Like it was like
it's like a marsh.
Yeah, it was horrendous. Yeah.
But as you said, like during COVID and everything else, the scene that GWs and the hobby as a community and the tools that we have now, it's just extortionate. It's awesome. Because if I told my younger self at 10 what I have now, they'll just laugh at me. It's like, nah, sod off, you know. Or mainly like the number of releases GW has, for example. I can't keep up.
Yeah,
the amount of releases
it's mental. It's mad. The amount of releases that come out is absolutely crazy. So, but yeah.
But I've got so how do you mix these texture bases then? You said you like did some test samples and stuff like that. So what's the process of working out these and how the combination goes together? So when I was looking at your Urban Deliverance, to me personally, that just looks like slate to me. So how does you and who's your partner? I can't remember. Sorry, Adam. So how do you come together to collaborate what would work? Because where you got such a vast range of say material at hand in the hobby, because you can go nuts if you wanted to with this stuff. So how do you like short this stuff so everyone's happy? Because you can't keep everyone happy
No, you can't.
in the hobby, because unfortunately that's life, in it, isn't it? At the end of the day. So how do you decide which is going to be like awesome and which is going to deflate? How do you come to those solutions in your processes?
That's a great question. Yeah, so with the basic mixes specifically, that's it's about, like what I said, when we first approached it, we were like, right, okay, we want to do some basic mixes for it, and like that was kind of like a little side project. I was working on a lot of the tufts and moss pads, and like I was like, I really want to tackle this because I'm a big fan of bass, and I think a bass, irrelevant of your painting level, I think a really good bass, it sets the scene, it's the environment, the world that
Oh,
miniature is
100%.
within. So like having something that really sells that environment convincingly to the eye, and it's easy to do it, really helps massively with the overall look of a miniature. So what it was is we thought, right, okay, well, we want something that's Mars orientated because it's science fiction. Obviously, Mechanicum's a big range in 30k, and also that's Mechanic's 40k. It'd be nice to do a Martian base. Also, orange as a color, it contrasts really nicely to blue models and to lots of and purple models, and like based on color theory, all those kind of things. So it's just so really, it was like we want to find a couple of materials, as in like ingredients. It's like cooking, but with rocks, stone, and sand. That's the best way for me to explain it. Like, it's quite fun, being honest with you. But it's like, right, I want something that's red, but also I need it to have like varied tones of that color in it, and also like the grain size has got to be varied. It needs to have enough fine stuff in it that when so that it bulks out quite a lot, obviously for production, but at the same time it's also got to have some larger pieces that then add visual interest when obviously they're applied on a base, and you've got to have enough of that in there so that when, even irrelevant of how much the pot is shaken up or whatever, you've got a nice, as you do a draw with a model with PVA on it, you still get a nice varied size, the coverage is good, and also that overall color that you're trying to emulate is as rich as possible on the base. So it's literally a case of just mixing loads of things together, small sample pots, doing loads of test bases and draws, seeing how putting the multiple layers of PVA to fix it, and then to set it on the actual base, so, and seeing how much of a color change it has as a result of like staying obviously like that material drying on the surface, and then tonally shifting the hue slightly. So there's loads of experimentation with it. I've got to say this, like the Urban Decadence. So just an example. So I've got like four different toned materials to start off with. Then added in, like, you would believe it or not, Urban Decadence has got like tiny little black particles that almost look like I don't know. It looks like. It sounds silly, but have you ever seen chia seeds? They're like a seed. I don't know if you've ever seen
Yeah.
them or not. Yeah, they're not chia seeds, so I haven't put food into the basic mix, so don't worry. But like, there's these tiny little black particles that are tiny, like tiny little things that overall as a color they don't add a lot to it, but when it comes to the actual varied grain size, they make a mat that almost looks like a really fine silt in the material as well. And like without it, all the material when it was dry brushed looked quite big, if that makes sense. So once we included that and a few other components into it, it made the variance of size vastly different from the. So we added those two components to the original mix of a few, done a second draw, put the bases next to each other, and the difference visually, you don't see like a black color to it, but those little tiny little particles make like a huge difference to the overall look of it, and just the variance of size and scale. And as I said, it is like cooking. It's like literally adding a little thing into something, and then it makes this massive change or difference to the overall finished thing, which you wouldn't think it does, but in fact it does. I've got to say this, as much as I love tufts and moss pads and all the other things we created, just the creation, like the mucking around with materials and pouring a bit of sand in this and doing a bit of this, and that was the most fun part of doing Scenics over the last 18 months. I've got to be honest with you. But yeah, like, and it's problem solving as well. It's like, I want to create this type of environment, a lot of sands out there are quite big in texture. Like the reason why what we've done with Barrack and Melange is our, like, what we'd call like our fine basing material, if you want to call it anything. It's very, very fine, but then it still has enough of another material we add into it so that when you do dry brush it, you haven't just got a one texture. It's got a nice little bit of variance in it, but it's still overall, as with everything that's in it, it's still got a lovely like a variety of sizes in it, and it's all through experimentation and literally at this dining table that I'm sat at now, just pouring bags of sand in, doing a mix, adding some of this in. Oh, hang on, it needs a bit of this, adding that, doing a draw, testing that. That's literally, it's the most fun part out of everything. I think the two most fun parts of doing Scenics over the last 18 months has been making the basic mixes and play testing them essentially, and naming the products. They've been the two most fun things out of everything. So yeah.
Oh, nice. Yeah, go on then, Ben.
I mean, I've got. I'm going to lean on to your Siege Studios a little bit. Flip it up a little bit.
Sure.
I've had an interesting question from somebody. So, this person's just starting to sort of get into commission painting a little bit. It's all very, very early days. That the question's quite an interesting one because I think that a lot of people will be quite keen to it. But have you got any sort of tips that for someone who's looking to start commission painting, especially around sort of how on earth do you start to like price things and things like that?
It's hard. It really is hard because. So essentially, in the grand scheme of things, there's like any industry, you've got to look at the industry, you've got to assess where your painting is at, okay, and also then price it accordingly, and also to take into consideration like your situation. So, are you looking to do it as an extra revenue income? Are you looking to do it without any other revenue income? It's not the sort of thing that I would recommend that somebody who's in a job that covers all their bills and everything, if they've never done it before, I wouldn't don some swimming trunks and dive in the deep end of the swimming pool with that. I wouldn't recommend that. And I think morally and just for integrity purposes, I'd be really stupid if I said that to anybody. Like it is a big change. Like, yes, we all sit here painting models to ourselves that we enjoy it, we love the process, we love being creative, we love putting paint on a model, but doing it for somebody else. And also, there's two sides to it. There's the creative side of it, where you have to obviously marry your skills and ability to what somebody wants. But at the same time, it's also doing it in a time frame that is deliverable for the person whilst maintaining their expectations. And a lot of people would think that, like, to touch upon pricing, a lot of people think that like they look at the industry, and it has come on leaps and bounds from where it was in the early days. I mean, like eBay Pro Painted, things like that. Like there's a lot of different entry points into actually selling models and selling services. But I think you need to look at your painting and then obviously look in the open market and compare yourself to where you feel you're at, and then price yourself accordingly. The other thing I would say is that, again, depending on your situation, that number, that earning potential is a bit more flexible, because maybe it isn't the thing that you're doing just to cover all your bills. Maybe it's just literally, I want it to pay for my hobby. So maybe I don't need to earn as much because all my bills are covered by my job, and I just want this to make my hobby essentially free, if that makes sense. But I think that also stacks up with like, what are you actually trying to do with it? So again, a lot of people will do. The good thing about painting models for other people is that you'll probably paint a lot of stuff that you don't inherently want to paint for yourself. Not because maybe you don't like the model, but just because it wouldn't ever enter the realms of your personal hobby. I like Blood Angels, or I like Necrons, but I've never painted a seahorse with a giant elf on it before. Do you know what I mean? Like, so like, I think that varies, and I think sometimes, depending on your situation and circumstances, you can maybe not earn as much on stuff, so it gives you the experience of painting this other stuff that then gives you've got, when you're starting out, you've got to build a portfolio, which is the hardest thing, because if you don't have certain models in that portfolio, people will assume that you don't paint that stuff. I'll say this quite openly now to you, like, we're 12 years old as a business, and people think we literally just paint Warhammer, because we paint so much 40k. Not even Warhammer in general. It's like 40k. Like we have had a stigma of just painting 40k because we paint so much of it. And we'll still have people to this day go, do you paint Bolt Action, or do you paint Infinity, or do you paint like Pokemon models that I've 3D printed, or do you paint like the answer is yes, but if you don't have it in your portfolio, then people assume that you don't do it. And I think that's one of the things when you start out. You've got to balance building that portfolio so that people can see something tangible that then gives them ultimately that confidence of, yes, I'll go with that person. And secondly, as well, you need to get the experience of painting those other things that then opens those doors for people that have those models that you potentially won't get access to because they don't think that you paint those models. So I'd probably say in the early days, it's the best opportunity you've got. If you've got a job and you're just trying to build something and do something for yourself, then price point shouldn't be the focus. It should be building that portfolio with the comfort of the job that you've got. And then once you've got that portfolio and got the experience, then you can then start looking at it and going, right, now, well, I can charge a bit more, or I can drop how much I'm earning, go down a day a week on my job, or if I can do that, maybe drop to part-time and then do 2 days painting. And that's just one side of it. The other side of it is like, again, that within Siege, it's a very different system, because obviously we've got people that deal with all the things that you don't have to deal with as a painter. Like you get to just do the painting aspect of it, which is the thing that most people enjoy the most, if that makes sense. But talking to people, replying to emails, ordering models, updating people, all those things, which is the more business commercial side of it, unless you do a job where you're experienced in that day to day, that's quite a deep swimming pool to jump into without any experience. Do you know what I mean? And like, I think one of the things is, as in the early days of the industry, I think the reason why when I started it, there was this vacuum of, it was treated more like a hobby in general in the industry, like the niche of commission painting. Nowadays, obviously, with the industry progressing as it has, it's the industry, let alone commission painting, is way more commercialized. So the thing with that is, people's perception of it entering now compared to how it used to be is very different. Like, people would be used to just dropping DMs on Instagram back in the day, or even through eBay, it was just messaging through eBay, or I bought this from you, can you paint me another one? Or I've got a rhino, can you paint that in the same scheme, etc. like that. And that still happens now. There's still eBay people that do commission painting now on eBay, don't get me wrong. But I think in general, the industry is way more commercialized than it used to be. And also when commercialization enters any industry that's in its infancy, the overall median expectation from people of the type of experience they have as a customer is very different to when it's more of a niche hobby-based industry. So I think I would probably say that starting now is probably harder because the expectation is higher, but it means that you have to auto accumulate yourself to the industry very quickly, as in you need to build a portfolio, show that you do the types of work, have the communication skills, have all the things that come with the non-painting side. It's a lot of plates to juggle. Like, even back in the day when I was just me on the tools and I was growing the business, you have to juggle so many plates, like literally so many plates to make the whole thing operate. So I would definitely say to someone, it's a great industry to work in. Like, it's really fun. You get to paint crazy projects like bacon themed space greens, or like goth Celestines, or crazy stuff like that. But like, at the same time, you also have to meet people's expectations and deliver whilst all that other side of it, which is maybe for some people a little bit out of the normal, and it's something that you have to acclimatize to and get used to doing. But in a real long-winded answer, like the pricing side of it, if you've got the safety net of a job and you're trying to start something, don't focus on that. Focus on building the portfolio and all those kind of things, and be happy to do certain jobs, etc., to get the experience and also get the portfolio to show people what you can do. And then once you've got that, then maybe wean off the other thing that is your main financial lifeline, and then you can start upping your prices and start obviously going to market with the confidence of a portfolio and the experience of doing more. If you've just painted bolt action models all your life and you're painting space greens for the first time, it's a very different thing to painting those bolt action models. Does that make sense? And you kind of need to develop that experience. I know I always compare it to to a couple of industries, like the car industry or cooking. Like, it's like a chef that cooks at home and they cook for their family and their best friend, and then they open a restaurant, and then people come in and go, "Oh, can you make me this meal?" Or you've got a menu or whatever, and it's a plate that you've not cooked that much. Does that make sense? And you have to get very good at cooking that thing that you're not used to meet that person's expectation of what that food is. Does that make sense? So that's the best way I would approach it. And sorry to be so long-winded, but I wanted to give a good answer on it for you.
It's a solid answer, and I do. I feel like, probably compared to how when you started off, I feel like the competition is probably significantly greater now with things like YouTube and Instagram and like I say, eBay and everything like that. I feel like Instagram is almost so many people on Instagram are commission painters just because they've grown their Instagram a little bit and they've kind of gone, cool, people have said they want to buy these, so I'll just become a commission painter. So I imagine it feels obviously not being a commission painter, it feels like it's harder to get into because it's such a congested environment of painters as well. So you must have to have that higher level of painting just to compete more than anything.
Yeah, it is. I mean, the thing is though, like there's all like I as much as I do agree with you, I also think as well, like for a consumer, it's probably the best time ever as well because there's such a variety of not only stylistic execution but obviously quality. If you want something to put on the table, throw dice at, if your friend leans over the table and spills their beer or their Coke on the table, it's the value of the models maybe isn't as high or whatever. Blah blah. There's like you've got all manner of different entry points for commission painting in the industry. So I think as a consumer, it's in the early days, there were only a few people or companies or organizations doing it, maybe not so many one-man individuals or one-person individuals online. Nowadays, like you said, there's way more opportunity of choice in the industry. So therefore, different price points and different budgets and different stylistic expectations, and there's a lot more variety. So it's more of a consumer-led market now, I think, because of the variety of opportunity and services that there are in the industry, whether it's a professional business or whether it's someone that's doing it on the side, or like there's all that kind of stuff now in the industry.
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. It's a really great answer, and I'm glad I asked the question because I think a lot of people be sort of there's a lot of people who are trying to start off that, and obviously we all do this hobby, we all love this hobby. At the same time, if we could all do this hobby full time, we would do that. Let's be honest. Yeah. So I can see why people want to do it.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. I'll throw another one out there, and this is sort of in that theme. You've painted a lot of models over your time. What has been probably the hardest model you've had to like paint or build or anything like that?
That's a really, really good question. I think some of the hardest ones, it's not so much in the execution, it's so much in meeting the client specification. When you have someone that's really linear on exact details and exact things and exact specification. If someone says, "Oh, I just want it like the box," that's very easy to do. As much as box art and that style and that language of execution is a certain way, and some people like it, some people don't, etc. It's very easy to just do. In principle, the look of it. The execution is hard because it's the style that it is. But when someone comes to you and says, "Look, I owned a 1979 Mini and it was in this color, and I really want a Space Marine chapter that's got the same color scheme as my Mini from 1979. I don't even know if Minis were made, and I think they were, but anyway, I want in that color as the armor. My Mini had cream stripes down it, so I want them to have a cream and green color scheme. The green's got to match this photo that's sun bleached of my Mini. I can't know if the green's correct or not. I've tried 16 different green paints, and I think this one is the closest one. If you could use this paint on the army across all the green, like when you get things that are really specific, that's where not only the execution ramps up in the sense of difficulty, or ultimately, I think like whenever we do something for anybody, like whether it's work or whether it's whatever, meeting that expectation of the person is ultimately the most important thing for anyone who's doing it. And when you have multiple things that are stacked, which are real key points for a client, that's where it actually gets difficult. So it's not even it's in all cards on table. It's not, in answer to your question, it's not really one specific project that like springs to mind because there have been so many that are like this. It's literally when you have clients that are very, very linear in the exact refined details that they want. And it's not actually the technical execution that's per se the difficult thing. It's actually making sure that when they see the model, be it in photos, and then they see the model in hand, that you tick all those boxes along that linear path. That's actually the hardest thing. Where things mount on top of that are when it's like, I've had this model for 10 years. I'm really scared. I've been too scared to paint it. So you've got that immediate kind of like, well, we've got to do a damn good job on it because they're too scared to paint it, if that makes sense. On top of that, that model is out of production, so they don't make it anymore. you try and find it on eBay and it's impossible to find. So there's only like one version of that model that you've got access to. So not only have you got to nail the crazy linear paint job or specification, but you've also got the risk of it. If anything goes wrong at all whatsoever, you can never get that model again because of rarity or scarcity. Without obviously for obvious reasons going into too many details, but we've had projects where there's a real huge emotional and sentimental attachment to it. Like, my late brother loved this army, and I want to do this army to commemorate him. Does that make sense? And it might be a really easy scheme, for example, or a really easy thing that you've done 500 million times before. But the moment there's that real deep personal attachment to the project because of a personal situation, you have this commitment of, I've got to nail this. I know I've done this job. It's not self-doubt. Like, that you can paint that project and you've done that project X amount of times before, but this one feels a little bit harder and a little bit more personal because it means so much emotionally to that customer. There's all manner of situations like that, and again, there's those situations where those two example scenarios, they've been stacked on top of each other. This is my best friend from when I was in school. When we were kids together in school, we used to game at weekends, and this was his favourite army. And I won a battle once and beat his army, and he gave me this model, and this is the colour scheme that he painted. Sadly, he's not around anymore, but I want to do an army of those models in memory of him, and also for this faction, and like. He used to paint it in this color that Games Workshop made, and that paint's no longer available. Can you find a color which matches it from current rate? So there's things like that like, but each one of these instances is like this really amazing opportunity to deliver something which has this huge connection to that client. And if you do it and get over that mountain, you feel amazing afterwards, because getting that tick box of satisfaction from the client is ultimately the reward of all the time that's invested into it as well. So it's a really, if I was to say to you one, it'd be very difficult to choose, because just in that explanation, there's like been 3 different example scenarios that give you a real challenge to overcome. And and obviously everyone that you do gives you experience for when the next one comes along and you go, cool, well, this is very much like that scenario that we had in the past. And I think, in a real silver lining, to answer your question, that's one of the most beautiful things that I think we get to experience on a daily, weekly basis, is all the things that make those. You scroll on our Instagram feed, or you scroll on whoever's feed when they're a commission painter, and you see all these miniatures that are painted to whatever standard and whatever execution. But what you don't see is all the amazing stories and backstories and choices and reasons why things are the colours that they are, or why they look like they do. And I think that's the real sad thing, that unfortunately so many people who are outside of the communication or the scenario, you just would not know about it. And it adds so much weight to what the miniatures are, and I think that's one of the things that I would convey as well.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I mean, the stuff you were talking about, like how people layer sort of requirements on and stuff like that, it's almost like they do in like film, like book adaptations into film. My mind just goes to Harry Potter for some reason. Like,
we've painted a Harry Potter Space Marine before, so yeah. So yeah.
But you like, I'm of the age where I grew up with like the Harry Potter books. When they were just books, you always had this impression of, oh, that's what Harry looks like, that's what Hermione looks like, yada yada yada, and then they put it into film, and all of a sudden you get that, you either get that or that's perfect. So you look at like Snape. People would sort of obviously look at Alan Rickman now and be like, he was the perfect character to play that. Yeah. And now you'd almost like anybody that isn't Alan Rickman, it's not going to be good enough. So I feel like it's almost the same thing. Like somebody's telling you all these requirements, or they've had one model that was done years ago that they want to replicate. They've got this vision in their head, whether or not it is what it was, or it's just what their mind has created it. You're effectively then trying to recreate what's in their mind. So you have to like pull that out. Yeah, it must be really, really tough.
Yeah, it's a challenge, but it's also a privilege, because you get to hear all this stuff and like really see how much it means. Like, you don't see the specs that people write, but there's pages and pages and pages, and like this industry is super passionate about what it is that everyone's projects, whether you paint them or you don't paint them, like. there's a lot of passion behind it, which it doesn't always, as I said, doesn't always get shown, which I think is the real sad part of. It's a sad part of what we do. You see the finished thing, but you don't see anything behind it. So yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Dave, I'll throw over to you. Have you got any more questions?
Not that springs to my head. It's like I couldn't agree more with what you were saying. It's like that emotional connection that you have with clients and stuff like that, and no one likes getting let down and stuff like that. And as you said, it's like if you can satisfy them in every aspect and beyond, which is the main thing. It's like if you get beyond, you like that's it, you're done. You don't care about everything else. And you must get inundated with stuff that you possibly do you take on all orders, or is there like limited stuff you can take on because you've got have you got such a small team, or has it been growing recently?
So we've got quite a big team. We've got different brands in the company. So we've got our core team of painters. We've got our senior team that do a lot of our high level stuff. We have a brand that's called Warrior Workshop that's more of like an airbrushed alternative that's designed for like gaming and tournaments. We have Custom Service, which is our character. If you ever see the grey and green images where they change to painted, or you see just the grey and green, the people we've got 8 sculptors in the business sculptors. There's loads of different teams, but we're in the region of like between 70 to 80 painters across the company, plus office team as well, to give you a bit of an idea. So even with that, we still have quite lengthy waiting lists for various different project sizes, which is a real privileged position to be in. But it's not happened overnight. Like as I said, it's 12 years in, and like you're only as good as the last job you've done. It's not like you can't rest on your laurels and be like, if Apple released a really rubbish iPhone or computer next week, people aren't going to remember the first one that came out with 2 cameras. They're going to remember the one that came out recently and is absolutely rubbish. Do you know what I mean? So like you have to constantly work at. It's not just about, as I said, like being grounded with what you are and what you do, and and not just rest on your laurels. I think that's one of the other things. Nodding back to the question you asked earlier about commission painting, is like you're only as good as the last job that you've done. You can't, just because you painted 15 jobs before that were amazing, that one that isn't and that the client's not happy with it, that's kind of like where you're at, if you follow me, and the way you deal with problems is really important as well. I think I think a lot of people that they will focus on the problem rather than actually the way of fixing it. And I think if you focus on the way of fixing it, the problem disappears and the client is happy, if that makes sense. So yeah.
Oh, nice. Oh, I haven't got no more questions, to be honest. What about you, Ben?
I've got one sort of double-barreled one, which might actually be a good way to end it, to be honest. So we've already talked about how insanely busy you are. Have you got anything at the moment which, or of everything that you're doing at the moment, have you got a particular favourite thing that you're enjoying the most at the minute?
Yeah. I've always said that custom service is like my child's child. It's like, I think if you were to put a gun to my head and say you can pick one thing in the business that you can keep and everything else you would lose, it'd be a difficult choice. And as much as I love Scenics it's like my new child kind of thing. CS is like my thing, like just the creativity that goes into it. And you said like you're reading the Gaunt's Ghost books at the moment. There might be like a sub character in there that you as a reader absolutely love that character, but you'll never get a model of that character because they're not Gaunt or they're not one of the main characters or whatever. And like the ability to bring that model to life in a version that's yours and nobody else will have it is my favorite thing about it. I speak all the CS stuff. There's so much. The thing we were talking about earlier about all the conversations and like the backstories and all that kind of stuff. For a general project, that's a massive part of it. For CS, it's everything, because all those decisions and choices and things that make that model inherently the unique individual thing that it is like the thing that I have amazing conversations with people and clients about. It's like, it's literally my favorite thing. And then being in a very privileged position to have the conversation, see all the ideas and see the creation of it, see it go in front of one of the CS team, then bring it to life. It then see it in the flesh, and then see one of the painting team do what they do and add the personality of the miniature, not only in the sculpt but through the painting, and the painting side of it comes to life. It's the most. It's like turning up to 11 everything that we do as a company, and like seeing that whole
Yeah.
process is like my favorite thing. Like, I think I'll quite happily say this, like, I'm CS's biggest customer, because I've literally like I I started it because there was loads of models that I wanted models of, and like, and we couldn't you couldn't get them, and then I had a load made for me, and then I was like, well, if I like this and this is what I've been dreaming of, then someone else is surely going to want this. Do you know what I mean? And like, and that's kind of the thing. Like, CS is like literally my favorite thing. It's like, it's just, yeah, but it's really hard to choose, and I know I've been mouthing on about one thing, but it is really hard to choose. But it's probably the thing that I would, if you put a gun to my head and said you can only keep one, that's probably what it would be.
I can see why. They are some of my favourite posts. And I was just sort of having a flick through your page and going, oh yeah, maybe that would be my favourite one. I'm not sure I could pick a favourite one. They're so different in so many different ways. And
welcome to my world.
Yeah, they're incredible. Yeah, they are really good. The work that your sculptors do is fantastic. They do such a crazy good job.
They're mega skilled, and they really do some phenomenal work. And yeah, like yeah, it is crazy. Like, it is crazy. I say this all the time. You like, when you're in the studio and you go through all the like models that are completed and things like that. We live in a very, like the team in the office, we're in a very privileged environment, because we see this stuff that's painted to the level that it's painted, and that's worked on to the level it's painted. Like, we're through osmosis, we're just surrounded by it all the time. So it does. You don't realise the privileged visual position that you're in on a day-to-day basis. Do you know what I mean? And it's a real crazy environment to be in. And so when we have guests in for the podcast, or when we have people come in like for interview or whatever, and people are like looking at the models on the shelves, and we're just like, they're like, wow, that's amazing, and we're like, oh yeah, and it's like, you know, to us it's it's a real eye opener, because it makes you realise sort of like the stuff you're surrounded by. But yeah, you're right, they are my favourite things that we do, I think, and it's a real hard choice, but that is it.
No, I completely understand why. So the second half of the compounded question, and probably a fairly good one to end on, is what's with all the Scenics up and running and sort of where you are, what's the next big project? What's the next big thing?
That's a real hard one. I think maintaining everything that we do into the level that we do it to, and the capacity that we do, is obviously the one thing. I think could I put two answers, or a half answer and a half answer? Is that going to be okay?
Yeah, of course.
Half of it is the academy, which is something that I've been doing for the last year and a bit, and I'll just mention a bit more about that, because it does nod into one of your earlier questions quite massively. And the other half of it is just stuff that we do to help people with their own painting, and which is a huge part of it. Like, so the first half, the academy. So the academy is a training environment that we basically I set up over a year ago. So we often get lots of people. When I started commission painting, there was only, as I said, a few people doing it. There's a studio in the States that I knew of quite massively. There's one in Europe that I knew of, and then there was one in England, but they ceased trading. And it kind of like, there wasn't like, well, how do I get into it, or what's a good way for me to do it? And obviously, over the years of the company growing, we obviously have a jobs page, and people can apply to the company. That's a portfolio, all that kind of stuff. And it would be really frustrating for me that people do apply, and they might not be right at the right level or whatever, and we'd obviously say, look, unfortunately, we looked at the portfolio. It's not quite where we need it. Keep pushing, keep practicing, and please do apply again in the future. And the amount of times we had over the last sort of 10 years or 11 years or so before I started it, where people go, well, is there any training? Do you offer training at all whatsoever? And like, we never used to do it. And it kind of got to the point where obviously Siege has grown in the industry, and really there's no one offering, or there wasn't anyone offering that opportunity to come under the wing, learn to paint for the business, and obviously have an opportunity at the end of it. It wasn't just, oh yeah, we'll do a bit of helping you and then you can go away and you don't get any more help, because the whole other side of it, you're kind of left, once you develop your painting skill, that whole other side of it isn't really helped, if that makes sense. And so the academy is an environment where people who aren't quite good enough, through maybe not doing it for long enough, or not maybe having the right guidance, or maybe there's some little things there that are great. The academy is where people come on board and learn with the business, train with the business, and then end up working on the tools of the business. It's something I've done for the last. That's half the answer. That's something that's a big thing for us, and we want to be the company in the industry that's offering that opportunity and opening, putting a sledgehammer to that door of that barrier to entry to commission painting, and giving the best opportunity in the industry to do that, if that makes sense. The other half of it is the painting side of it, which I mentioned. Like, ultimately, we sell time and experience. That's what any trade is. I'm not very good at plumbing, so when I need my sink sorted or another thing you put in, I'll get a plumber. But at the same time, for those people that do want to learn to plumb, so to speak, all right, okay, developing our tuition and our side of the business, which is obviously like teaching people and the way of delivery and helping people and obviously that I really appreciate the opportunity to come on and have a chat with you guys. We have various mediums of learning from us, whether it's classes, whether it's online, whether it's on one-to-one, whether we obviously have, like everyone in the industry, we have a Patreon, which obviously everybody does, like a lot of people do.
Yeah.
We do. All the people that can't come to a physical class obviously learn through that tuition platform, and we've only done one way of learning, for one way of teaching for many years, which is just visual, as in like PDFs. And it's only recently we started doing videos because people were crying out for it. And again, from running a YouTube channel, there's a lot more to creating videos than doing a PDF. It takes a lot more back end editing and video and recording, doing the camera work so that you're not just looking at a hand and you're actually looking at the model or any of this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So the tuition side is a big thing for us. We really want to do the best tuition we physically can as a business in the industry, and they're the two things. It's giving opportunity for people to enter the industry, to work in the industry, which I'm really, from my recruitment days, I'm very passionate about, and also for those people that maybe don't want to have commission painted models or don't want other people to paint their models and want that inherent skill for themselves, giving the best opportunity that we can in the industry. If people do find us or don't find us or stumble across whatever, that they can pick stuff up from us really easily. And they're the two sides of it. And there's, within the tuition side of stuff, there's a lot of things that I can't say at the moment, but there's a lot of things that I am doing, kind of like product wise that will be there for people, and that's the side of it. So yeah, those are the two things really for us, and they're the things I'm really, really passionate about. My role's changed to more tuition and training and development, and obviously with the academy, that's kind of what I do. I don't really run the day-to-day in the office, in the studio, or the company anymore, which feels really weird after so many years of doing it. But the training and the internal support, like, I'm very hands-on. Like, I'm not the sort of business owner that, like, you if you were in the building, I've got no door on my office, I took it off, like, I literally just like I want team members to be able to come and go, can I talk to you about this? Or I'm struggling with this technique, or I don't know a good green that finishes matte in finish. I'm emulating this material and it needs to be matte, but I don't know a good green that covers well. All the greens that I've got that are bright are satin, or that, like that's kind of like my role now is developing within the company and developing the team and helping people that get into it to have the best experience of commission painting, which is what I'm really passionate about, even after 12 years of doing it. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, sorry for the long answer.
No, it's a really solid answer. Yeah, it's a really important thing. So I used to be a teacher, and so I find a lot of pleasure in bringing people in and seeing that development in people. I completely see why you've got a lot of passion for it. It's really fun to see that happen. So yeah, no, it's a really, really good answer. I think that's all the questions I've got.
Amazing.
I really appreciate all the answers and you've got, James. It's been a real pleasure to sort of talk to you and
it's lovely. Yeah, thank you.
About what's going on.
Thank you very much for the time, guys. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, appreciate it. Appreciate it a lot.
Much appreciated.
I guess we've not talked about it yet, but in terms of the next episode, we've got Pete Build stuff coming on.
Oh yeah.
So Pete's really. I know, yeah, it's so engrossed with that. Pete's a really, really lovely guy. I've been chatting with Pete for a long time. Pete's done a lot for charity. He's done some charity streams, stuff like that. He's got another charity stream coming up. But the thing I'd really like to delve into with Pete is he does a weekly mental health night at Badmoon Cafe. And so, yeah, the next episode will be sort of a lot more focused around mental health and how the hobby can help mental health. I mean, James, we sort of talked about it a little bit earlier, but yeah, we're getting Pete on the next episode. So as per usual, I will do the Instagram post, and we'll get any questions for James. But yeah, that's the sort of focus of the next one.
Yeah, looking forward to it.
James, before we go, obviously, where can people find you and Siege?
Literally search Siege Studios in Google or Siege Scenics, and hopefully, fingers crossed, you'll find it. It's the same tag on most social platforms. So if you should be able to find it. If you don't know of us, check it out. It'd be awesome to see anyone who doesn't know of us, what they think, or if they want to see some stuff. And if you do, thank you for paying attention to the business and giving us a bit of interest. So yeah, that's very kind.
Yeah, I'll put all the links in the description of the podcast and on YouTube, stuff like that. So you can go straight to the links, go to the Instagram, YouTube, website, everything like that. So yeah,
it's very kind of you. Thank you.
No, I really appreciate your time, James. That's all I've got. That's
me done.
Amazing.
Well, thank you very much, James. Obviously, if everybody did enjoy it, then obviously do the whole thing of like, subscribe, comments, things like that. I'd really like to sort of hear some of your thoughts on some of the stuff that James has said. I think there's been some really, really nice tips and really, really good points on that. It's been a really, really good conversation. Yeah. So, yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. So, see you next time.
Thank you.
Right.
See you later.
See you later.